Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Agents of Clix, a bi-monthly podcast for everything Heroclix. My name's Sean and I'm joined as usual by Christopher Dunn and Dale DeAndrade. Alright guys,
Hello.
have you recovered from nationals yet?
Just about.
Just about.
I haven't finished unpacking.
No, yeah.
I was just unpacking today as well, yeah.
Yeah, I've been sorting stuff out, but it's
yesterday.
going to take a while. So for all of those that know, it was nationals this past weekend. It was the sealed qualifiers on the Saturday and the actual final event on the Sunday. Dale, do you want to talk us through, because you did the sealed event on the Saturday to qualify, didn't you? So
Yes, I think we all had enough about whether I was going to qualify or not. Yeah, so it turns out we went down. It was that thing, Deadpool thing, working it out. There's 6 people, I think it was, so there's quite a few people there who'd already qualified. So I'm working out in my head how many people there are and things. I was like, right, all I've got to do, it's straightforward. There's 4 games. Got to get 2 wins and some really good points, and you've got it. It's easy enough. I pulled the cable, so I thought I was okay with just that. I ended up going with cable, swarm, 50 point the Deadpool guy, 2 swords, massacre,
yeah,
and a 10 point thing I don't remember. Does anyone else remember?
Cowboy.
Koi
Boy, that was it. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, I love Cowboy. Didn't get him to work once, but there you go. Swarm was really good. After I badmouthed him, he was really good when he could hit, but he just really couldn't. The event went to a double cable team, beating out narrowly is it Captain Pool? The Captain Universe powered
the pool captain, yeah.
Deadpool. It was him and a ninja. It's quite hard to beat that.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of stress.
Yeah, up until the point where we realised that basically everyone was going to qualify. Yeah, it's like I'd won 2015, 2016 was a bit of an embarrassment for it. I thought, here we go, it's going to be step down. I didn't even make the last 32. Never mind the cut towards the top 8. Yeah, that was it really.
You got there to the final. That's the main thing. Yeah, great. So that was your Saturday, and then obviously Sunday you were well rested, I take it. We weren't, but Chris and I travelled down to Manchester on the Sunday, so we had an early start. We left at 6, and met you there. But so in terms of teams for the Sunday event, which was the live event, we'll just briefly talk about our teams. I went for a Krang team with Justin Safer, Baxter Stockman, and I'd last minute had put Betty Brandt on the team, and obviously the tank, because it's the tank, so why not? I was playing that with the Rock of Eternity. The theory behind it is I just wanted to get the Alpha Strike off, and I could get my attack up to a 14 and my damage up to a 7. and potentially flurry with those values as well. So I knew that, and by dropping the tank, I knew that whatever I was going to hit hard, providing I could get the first attack in. But not being a theme team, that proved slightly more difficult than what I had hoped. But that was my team. I don't know if you want to tell us, Chris, what your team was, or
Mine and Dale's team were pretty similar, so I'll tell you what mine is, and Dale could maybe say any slight differences.
Yeah.
So I was basically playing an Avengers Quinjet team, which was the Quinjet, 140 points with a resource style, and then playing Jarvis and Ant-Man. The Ant-Man for the Age of Ultron 003, the one who can turn people different sizes and has perplex. As well as that, we played a Thug who got the Avengers keyword, Red Wing from the Civil War movie set, and the Pim Pocket Tank. Pim Pocket Tank, because we've got Ant-Man on the team, is going to not break theme, which was very important. So I was playing 8 ID cards, and there were Nightwing, which was the Outsider's Nightwing, rather than the 100 point which everybody plays. Playing him, and I played the 35 point Flash, 15 point Atom, Spectrum at 77, basically just for give the jet pulse wave. The Gravity Feed Green Arrow, Nick Fury, 50 point Captain America, the one who moves people around who shares a keyword with, and the SR Super Red Green Lantern, 35 points. So yeah, I tweaked the ID cards. Dale was running slightly differently, so that was the difference between his team. The Avengers Quinjet team, just to say, was originally sort of designed by Aaron Cantu from the Two Clicks from Keo podcast, and I think Jay Solomon, who's from the Married from Clix podcast, had been playing it quite a bit in the States. They'd been playing it before the Pim Pocket Tank came out, so they were playing, instead of Ant-Man, they were playing Captain America, and like 9 ID cards. But obviously with the Pocket Tank coming out, swap the Captain America for Ant-Man, and then you can keep theme. And I think it just makes it really makes a huge difference to the damage output on it.
Yeah.
And basically the strategy around it was, because you had +5 theme, it was quite easy to go, right, what map do you want to play on, because you're going to get map, although Dale seemed to manage to lose map most of his games.
Yep.
But I think I always won map. I can't remember if I played on any other map. I might have done, might not. I was basically just playing the what's it called again, that temple map, I don't know,
Mount Olympus.
Mount Olympus, yeah, with like because it had the big bit of blocking in the middle that you can't destroy. So basically the strategy would be put you on that map, Ant-Man calls in Captain America, who then moves the jet up to below the blockade, sat there going, and then next turn you would just call in somebody, Ant-Man would make them giant, and they would just shoot over the top of it, dropping the tank on somebody's head generally. And with your theme probs, if it's like Nick Fury, you'd end up with like, I'll have 4 rerolls to make sure that attack isn't going to miss. So that was a general strategy, and then you had other plan B if they had any way of seeing over the blocking. So if they were giant or they had an alpha strike, you could just pass the turn or something and then come at them, because you've got to use Captain America to move up and then do a running shot with a jet, which means you can hit the back row. And there's various little, or you could do like move the jet up, have a real boy come out like Nightwing, and then Nightwing would shoot you and drop the tank on your head instead. So you had quite a lot of flexibility, and obviously with the utility of all your support figures and all the ID cards, because basically when we were building it, we were looking at, can you beat sort of Jakeem and Krang? So as long as you could beat those two, I thought that any team, you'd do really well with it. So I think something like Nick Fury plus tank is going to kill Jakeem, and being able to go theme team and pass you could, as long as you won the roll off against Krang, you would always get the first attack in. Because if Krang attacks you first, you can kill a Quinjet in one go, like your team, Sean. You know, I knew that if I went first, that I could beat you.
Yeah,
Especially
so
with
did I.
playing the Outsider's Nightwing basically just wins
Cripples
the
me.
game pretty easily.
Yeah, cripples me.
So that was the strategy of the team going in. I mean, Dale, if you want to add anything to that, or just say the ID cards that you picked slightly differently.
Yeah, so I think I'll focus more on the ID cards then, since you've basically said the exact strategy. The only thing I'd point out, although when we were discussing it, the real focus was killing Jakeem, Krang, just making sure that their big thing died straight away. Two things I wanted to note was I always focused on killing Faust more. Probably wrong to do so. But it was much easier to, when I came up against Jakeem and Faust, when I did a lot. It always seemed easier to be able to kill Faust and hurt Jakeem and hold him down for a little bit before things really kicked off. But yeah, the ID differences I went for the same Captain America, the 50.1, because you need that move and keep the jet untokened off, the Atom to kickstart the dial when things went wrong, Green Arrow and Green Arrow and Nick Fury to actually do the big alpha strike attack that you needed. Lex Luthor, because he's one of the best call-ins for a reroll perplex one. He's a really good support piece and he's really easy to get in a real boy. And Nightwing, because he basically shut down Krang and was also just a really easy call in 25 points, good kickstart on the dial. I think Nightwing's a highlight of one of the best ones. 25 points, he is just insane. But the two differences came in, instead of Spectrum, I went for the Hank Pym card. I went for the Father of Ultron Hank Pym because we felt like we had to have Pulse Wave in there. It was initially because we were worried that maybe a Lex team might sneak in. We weren't expecting it because of Jakeem being so popular. It just basically shut that team down, but didn't want to go in there and instantly lose a match like that, so wanted to have something in there. But I felt like it was such a outlying situation that I thought was so unlikely to be necessary that I didn't want to basically spend that ID card on Spectrum, because I felt like she just doesn't bring anything but Pulse Wave. So I went for the Hank Pym. He had a 50-point dial where he essentially is either a sidestepping outwits character or a pilot for the jet to give that outwit a sidestep. And the other card was, instead of the flash, because I didn't feel like I needed the speed, I was happier just burning a perplex if I needed to get across the map, was a shield level 1. Again, give me a little bit of the speed, not quite +3 that the flash does, but I got the +1 movement and shield 2 ability whenever I needed it. And I went for the paranormal investigator on that. It is a soft, I'd say maybe a soft counter to a Jakeem. I managed to get this off 3 times in games, where I was able to twice was a real boy, once was just a normal call in, and then have the shield agent walk forward. Says he can't use stealth, can't use shape change, which of course is what he's picking, and then outwit is probability control. And then all of a sudden you just need one more you actually need Nick Fury to say you can't use whatever defense power you have, or make sure that you've picked a attack power to count whatever, ignore whatever defense power he has, and just one shot him, kill him, finish him off, whatever you needed. The only thing that I think me and Chris really I would say disagreed, but had different options for, as I said, was that opening thing. I felt like I made a mistake in one game, the game that I lost. It was the exact team we discussed, Jakeem and Faust. I'll go into it more later, but I used Nick Fury as my first shot, which is the usual case, but I used it to kill Faust. I think that was a mistake.
No, I think that you lost against Stuart Kenwood, didn't you?
I did.
Was that not he was playing the Jakeem and Bizarro Green Arrow?
Bizarro Green Arrow, yeah. So it was the Green Arrow that I killed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was essentially I had to use that, wasted Nick on it, and desperately just didn't need to do so.
Yeah. No, I think I'd sort of would have probably done, because we'd worked out that we could Alpha Strike Nick. Nick and Faust was like the one we were practicing with, so we could go Nick Fury, go try and kill Jakeem, but he would probably end up always having shape change. But then if you made his shape change, you could just shoot Faust instead. So I always thought that I'll go for Jakeem, and if he hits his shape change, I'll just kill whoever else his support figure standing next to. But I always like opened with Nick Fury. Well, I think when we come on to discussing that games, you tended to open with Green Arrow and then save Nick Fury for later, for finishing people off. Or that's what I got the impression when I was talking to you about. Yeah. But I think actually your ID card, I think because I'd and ah about quite ID cards, I think your ID cards were better than mine, really. I think the ones that I actually brought, I never actually used. And they were just like, I think I'd wish I'd gone with one of the ones you gone with. But yeah, hindsight is a wonderful thing.
It is indeed.
You're just trying to second guess what your other people are going to be playing, which is like really difficult, you know.
And I'm not going to take credit for the shield at level 1. Chris brought it up as calling in as a real boy the 20 point and making them giant and then tying up them in the starting zone, so you can really guarantee that brilliant first shot. And we had, I think, 2 Skype calls that were about 2 hours each where we didn't play a game. We literally just chatted through every possible option. I almost went with the Superior Spider-Man because I felt like if someone came out to the jet, you didn't have anything like explosive mental damage, which is another thing I never mentioned. I was going to mention, the jet. We never. I know I didn't go up against another jet, and I don't think I could have beaten it. I might have, but I would have played really well.
I did come across a jet twice, and spoiler alert, I didn't beat it.
It lacks because
you lack that extra punch that because you'd be playing like the out and out wing, which maybe I should have put in some like triathlon, because triathlon at 60 points is easy to get out as a real boy, and if you've got the perplexes, then he can rack up the damage.
Really,
he can hit as just as hard as Nightwing, really. So I think maybe if I'd had say dropped Flash or Green Lantern, because I've really used them, and put in triathlon or something like that, I think that would give me a better shot at those games. But anyway, we can talk about that. I think when we talk about like our games, we can go into
what happened,
how we came a cropper and mistakes were made and things like that.
Yeah.
So should we talk about how we did in each round? If I start with my first round.
You kick off, and we'll try
Okay.
and be brief on these, because we've got like there was five rounds. That's 15, and then obviously some of us got on to the top 8 as well. Lasted longer than others.
So my first game was against the previous year's national champion Felix Hughes, and Felix always plays kind of figures of teams that you wouldn't expect to be played at nationals, or just figures he likes.
He is the mad scientist.
But I think it's just figures he likes to play. He was playing the Trinity of Sin team base, so like I kind of sat there for a bit and thought, I cannot remember what this day looks like. I've got it and I've played it before, but such a long time ago. But anyway, no surprise, he won map roll and he put me on the rooftop map from the Superior Foes Spider-Man set. He had told me beforehand that he'd only practiced against Krang twice. And I think he won one and lost one. So I was like, already my nerves were gone, because I'm thinking, this guy won nationals last year. He moved up, I think, 4 squares to start with, and then passed the turn. So I thought, I haven't got time to wait for Betty to get on Perplex. I need to hit him before he hits me. So I made Krang Colossal, healed him with Baxter to make him a 14 attack. dealing 6 damage. Justin sent him off to make his first attack. He was carrying the tank. I hit, dropped the tank, dealt 2, dealt 6, took 2 mistakes, and then hit him again for another 6, and that was game over. I hit him for 5, sorry, and then that was game over. So literally I took 1 turn and killed the Trinity of St. Timbius. And we both kind of looked at each other, and Felix went, yeah, it's going to be one of those days. It wasn't. He made top 8, but but yeah, that was my first match. Went a lot. It didn't go long enough for me to kind of feel as if I was easing in. It always takes me a couple of games to get comfortable, and because the game was over relatively quickly, I'm glad it was over relatively quickly, but I didn't feel like I was kind of gelling in. But yeah, that was my first round. What about you, Chris?
Well, my first round was against another Chris. It was Christopher Maynard. He was playing KC Flash with Eclipso with Bizarre Green Arrow, which I think Stuart Kenwood had won at previous.
Yeah, I think he played that at the Birmingham WQ as well, didn't
he? Yeah. I think that was a particularly bad matchup for Chris because the tank. Like Bizarre Green Arrow, I think when the first Bizarre Green Arrow came out, I was like all enthusiastic about him. But I think when you actually face the tank, anybody that's standing next to Bizarre Green Arrow is then going to take 2 penetrating, and the Flash his stats, he's all like top dial as far as I'm concerned. Once he takes 2 penetrating damage, he suddenly becomes a lot less good. So I won my pro. I decided I didn't want to put him on the temple map because just in case he took out Ant-Man and then he had that big blocking that he could like run around hypersonic behind. So I put him on the crater instead from the
Civil War,
Civil War one, where just there's basically hardly any terrain apart from a big crater in the middle. Yeah, so I thought, well, I'll put him on that, and then he can't really hide very well wherever he is. So I think I moved up fairly cautiously. I didn't go the full speed that I can with calling Captain America, just in case. I thought, well, he did have a Lex Luthor ID card for TK. He's playing like the Pandora's box. I thought he will just be he'll sit there and put a token on KC Flash. But I thought, well, just in case he decides to get aggressive, I won't move up too far, and then he wouldn't be able to get back. So anyway, as expected, he put his token on KC Flash. I think he put like the Lust on him. Then he sidestepped up, just carrying Bizarre Green Arrow. And I think I had about 5 or 6 different ways to drop the tank on him, and it was just deciding: should I hit my Nick? Should I hit my Green Arrow? Should I just run and shot with a jet and hit him? And eventually I decided, I'll do it with a jet, because then I'm right in his face as well, rather than like hanging back. But yeah, I could have done it 600 ways. So I had I don't think I burnt. I think when I must have had enough to get Nightwing out or something. Can't remember exactly, but anyway, I just I can't remember now. Did I shoot with a jet? Let's just say I did. Anyway, I got an outwit from Nightwing when he popped out as a real boy. He outwitted the range combat expert thing on Bizarro. I hit him fairly easily, dropped the tank on his head. That knocked Flash down to his 3rd click, and I was the jet was sat there, just a few squares away from him. He then had Atom waiting. If Flash decided, I'm going to kill that tank, then Atom was going to come down and punch its lights out. But I think he struggled then to get back together. The two of them get back together, and I think I just had a couple of turns where I was just basically clearing the jet while he was trying to leg it back. And I think what happened was I called in something like Flash to go and punch, so just to try and turn the resource dial. I got it to 120, which was like, oh, that's a free Nick Fury. So I just ran the jet up, popped out Nick Fury next to Casey Flash, and then punched him, and he was dead. So that was like that. Yeah, so I don't think that was the type of team that the Quinjet like excels against. Really, I think anything that can't take the 2 penetrating damage from the tank and still be decent is just gonna, get walked over by that Quinjet team. Anyway,
Yep.
that was my round one. Dale's round one.
So my round one was against Andrew Davidson. I think I said that right, maybe Davidson. I can't quite remember. I wrote it down properly. But he had the animal team, the 3. What's his name? Clarion, the Witch Boys, a Ace the Bat Hound, and 2 giant Titano monkeys. It was probably the worst type of team the Quinjet can go up against, because it's like there is no massive threat. There's no, you can go, I will kill this guy and it's done, and that's what my team basically did. I really played badly. I mean, I played shockingly bad. I got Colossal retaliated twice, which cost me I think it was 3 real boys got killed by the retaliation. I burnt every ID card doing it. I think I managed to kill Teakle at the end with about 5 minutes left before time being called, and when we were tossed up the points at the end, I actually won 300 to 310. Ooh. So if I hadn't have killed Teakle, I would have lost, because Pog's still on the map. It was pretty much my entire fault. I mean, he plays the team well. He beat me. He beat on the map roll because he gets more than me actually.
6, yeah.
He picked the WizKids Convention map, which I'd never even seen before. I'd never paid any attention to those maps other than I felt like I had to know the boat, the WizKids office, but apart from that, I had never really seen it. Managed to get a really good opening. Like, he came at me first, but he didn't realise that the Jarvis can only ever take 1 damage, and he wasted a Teakle on that. And then his second attack, he went up and tried to hit, it was Ant-Man with one of his Teakles, and failed because my Ant-Man had like 20 defense, with the 18 defense for the jet and combat reflexes. But then I managed to get a really good energy explosion, precision strike, dropping the tank with a green arrow. I mean, it was risky-ish because he had quite a few prop controls, and I mean, I had a few theme team rerolls. I did manage to get Lex out before he actually attacked, so I had that as well. But I managed to do 1 damage, I went 1 damage, killed the 2 little Teakles, 3 damage to one of the Clarions, energy exploded in the second one, and dropped a tank on them both. So it was great. I thought, I've got this. This is easy enough. But because I didn't realise the tank triggers Colossal Retaliation, I had positioned really poorly, and that's what cost me a lot. And then I did the same thing again when he had Colossal Retaliated. I put forward my Atom, who I'd got out as a real boy first turn because I'd rolled really poorly. I had to kick the start of the dial straight away, and just completely forgot that is an attack and that you can cross retaliate against that. So I won in the end, keeping, I think I had Jarvis left, and I had my Thug who had jumped in the jet. I had my full jet which hadn't taken an attack, but I think that might have been it. Or maybe one click left on a Jarvis with Nightwing as well, and he just got so many points off me. So yeah, and that started my day of not winning map roll pretty much ever.
You scraped through it. That's the thing.
I scraped through it. I think that opening attack, if I played badly from that point, but that was so good that even with a terrible deficit, I couldn't have got done. I couldn't have really messed that up once I'd managed to drop that. He was unfamiliar with the tank, so I mean, it really caught him by surprise, and I don't think he was expected that much damage out of Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Green Arrow Energy Explosion plus tank does tend to wreck a few faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was our first, so not too bad. We all won that. So on to the next
so far
round.
so
Sean.
good. Yeah. So round 2,
Yeah.
I was paired up against Alex Crow, who was also a former nationals champion, and I just thought, oh my god, what have I done to deserve this? Because like 2 national champions back to back. But he was playing the team of Felix Faust, Jakeem Thunder, with Brainiac and Faust, Eclipso on Jakeem, and a 2-sin box. Now I'd practiced against this team quite a bit because we were expecting to see it, and Matty, my son, was also playing the same team, so I practiced against him at home. And thanks to a conversation that I had with you, Chris, because normally I was playing the Rock of Eternity on the blue path, the Mighty path, which gave me Flurry, and a good bit of advice by Chris saying, just when you come across a Jakeem, play it on the red path, the Cunning path, because that gives you Force Blast on your second click, and a single target pulse wave dealing 7 damage with Force Blast will one-shot Jakeem. So I thought, right, I've got this. He has, like, we set up. Again, he won map roll. He put me on the WizKids office map and spent most of the time hunkered up in the corner trying to roll the nuts on Faust, which he did pretty early on, and basically wiped out a lot of my team. Took Justin out, took Betty Brant out.
So did you get the yellow power?
Pretty much. Yeah, he got the yellow power. Killed my tank. So all I was left with for the majority of the game was Baxter and Krang. But fortunately for me, he put Baxter on his perplex click, so I knew I could still get up to 7 damage. So the first few, I was uncomfortable by this, and I thought, oh, this is game over. I can't get to him because he was just staying in the corner, and he positioned himself really well, so I couldn't get I had to be like directly on the diagonal to get line of fire to him. So the game went back and forth a bit. He kind of just hunkered up in the corner, didn't move. So then I made myself giant without attacking and didn't heal with Baxter, just so I could get on my running shot click instead of my charge click. To which I think he was a bit shocked that I'd done that. I don't think he expected that. And because
he didn't know what. He didn't.
Exactly. Yeah, if you see the earlier episode,
he didn't realize which path you were on for your Rock of Eternity. He assumed you were going to do the Flurry, which I had said to you. You don't need to tell people. You just need to say what path.
And that's exactly what I did. In fact, he didn't ask me, so I didn't tell him. So then, anyway, the game went on, and I also had sidestep on the rock, so I managed to get in a position where I could sidestep, running shot, single target pulse wave, which I did. I'd perplexed at my damage. I dealt him 7 damage, and he went, "Where are you getting 7 from?" I was like, "Well, I've got printed 4. I've made myself colossal, and I've perplexed up damage. So that's 7." Like, all right, okay. Click, click, click. That puts him on his last click, and I was like, plus knockback. Wait, what? Where are you getting knockback from? Rock of Eternity, I've got no action tokens, that gives me Force Blast, so you get knocked back into the wall, that's another damage. And he kind of looked at me, and I think he realised then, oh no, I wasn't expecting that, and he was like, yeah, that's killed him. I'm like, mm-hmm. And then I spent the rest of the game running away from Faust. And it went to time, and I won, so I was quite happy with that bit of advice you gave me there, Chris. Worked a treat.
Well, you should be very pleased with yourself. You need. Well, it's all right. It's all right knowing what to do, but actually pulling it off is another thing.
So I was quite happy. I felt settled now. But
you've only beaten the 2 national champions, so you should be.
I was happy. I was happy with that one. So what about your round 2?
Well, mine didn't go so well. As I sort of said before, I came up against Rob Buckley, who was playing in sort of a more standard Quinjet build. But he was playing the Quinjet. He played actually 3 drones. I think he was worried about losing drones. I think because he had been playing a lot of the WKO's, been playing like the Proteus Quinjet build, but I think instead of doing that, he'd basically been playing the 4-armed Ultron drone. That if he needed pulse wave, he could jump him into the jet for the pulse wave. I'm trying to remember what else he had apart from the 3 drones. Quinjet. Did he have Henry, I think, as well on the map? I think
he played Henry.
Eight cards on. He had the tank, so obviously, he needed to drop points to try and fit the tank into the build, really. So I think he must have got rid of. He's saving 15 points doing that. So tank and maybe the 90 card. Can't remember now. Anyway, without looking at, I haven't got his armor sheet in front of us. So I knew because he had Captain America on his jet as well, so he was capable of doing an alpha strike against me. So that was sort of in my mind that I don't want him to drop his tank on me before I'd get it down on him. So I put him on the obviously one map. Put him on the temple map, the Zeus thingy. What are they called again?
Olympus.
The Mount Olympus.
Mount Olympus, right. I keep calling it the temple map. Mount Olympus, right. Okay. And I was just a little bit cautious. I sort of hung back because I thought, well, he could bring out Captain America and then do a running shot, drop his tank on my head, which I didn't really want him to do. So I hung back a little bit just to make it more difficult for him to do that. Just with like moving up with Captain America, and then basically said, okay, you'll go. Rob knew what I was going to do, but then actually protecting yourself from it is another matter, because something like running shot Green Arrow can hit. I couldn't hit the entire map because I'd hung back a little bit. So he could have just sat, he could have turned his jet landscape and just sat there. But that was basically, because I couldn't hit the back 2 rows. But what he decided to do was like split up his team. He left a couple of drones in the starting area who just like sidestepped up, and he swung the jet carrying one of the drones out to like the left, and just sidestepping a drone away from it, just because he didn't want me to shoot to save the jet and then drop the tank and kill all his drones. So because I'd hung back a bit on my turn 2, I couldn't do a Green Arrow to hit all 3 drones because they were just out of my reach. So I decided, well, I can still hit, say with Nick, shoot his jet, drop a tank and kill that other drone. So I did like 8 damage to his jet, which basically took it down to its like halfway point. Killed the drone. And I thought, well, that's alright. He's going to kill my tank. He's going to get up on points, but he's got 2 drones left, and his jet's down halfway, so I could probably like take that jet out. And I think that was my mistake. I was focusing on I could take that jet out, but I'd really used up my big damage dealer. So I think on his turn, he'd killed my tank and basically sat there, I think. And what I should have done was just move up to the blocking, and then just next turn cleared, and then shoot his drones with a Green Arrow, and that would have been the win. But I got cocky, and I thought I could kill that jet. So I perplexed up like stuff on my jet, and I did a running shot to hit his jet, which was a really stupid thing to do in hindsight. So I didn't kill it, and I basically left all my little supporty dudes at the mercy of his 2 drones, which obviously had got like Green Arrow, etc. Not Green Arrow because that's just his jet could call that in, but like Nick and whoever else he had on his ID cards. So so he then retaliated, took a lot of my little small dudes out, and I was basically chasing the game because there was quite a lot of points down at that point. Because by the time he'd killed my tank, which is like 50 points, killed like Ant-Man, was another 50 points, and etc. And I'd killed 1 drone, and I'd taken his jet down by half, but I'd only got 30 points by killing the drone. And I think I then tried to chase around, tried to finish his jet off, unsuccessfully, and then he won on points by quite a lot. I needed to kill his jet, and I would have just won. but I think I got it down to click 15, but I didn't have the oomph to like finish it off. And I think I'd oh god, that was stupid. And I'd say if I'd just sat behind, because he couldn't really get to me, if I'd just sat behind the blocking and then just like waited until I was close enough to shoot him, take the 2 drones out. But yeah, that was me being cocky. But I think just to say about Rob, because I get I come on and play him again later on in the game. I think Rob's like a very underestimated player. I think whenever he's always done pretty well at nationals. I think when I've been playing him, he always seems to beat me, and he does well in like the double KOs. I think he's done. Did he came first or second in the South Coast one? Did well in Birmingham. Yeah, so he is a very good player. And I mean, yeah, I think you often talk about like Felix or Alex and things like that. But I think Rob is probably one of the best players who hasn't won the nationals previously. So yeah, you underestimate at your peril. But anyway, that was my round 2. So I was looking a bit worse for wear after that. Dale.
So me then. So I played against Nathaniel. I've had the pleasure of playing him before. He was my first game in the last year's nationals, which didn't go well for me. He was playing a big Quinjet at that time, and now the tables had turned. I was playing my big Quinjet. He was playing a Krang team, not the normal Krang team. He actually was a themed team. He won map roll.
Was he playing like a robot version with?
He was playing a robot version. Sorry, yeah. So it was Krang. It was, I want to call him Alpha 1, but I'm not sure.
Alpha 1, yeah.
It's the Shredder.
He's the Turtles one.
Turtles ninja who can teleport people around, with a 25-point Batman vs Superman robot to carry them, and Mercury, the TKing robot man. He won map. I wasn't really sure. I've read the card and had a quick glance, but I didn't really understand how Alpha 1 works, and I thought I was looking at this team and panicking that there was going to be some crazy like TK him forward, teleport him even further forward, and then Krang can just smash me. So I played it really defensively for my first kind of initial move, and he didn't seem to realise exactly how the team worked essentially. So he'd put himself pretty much in the middle of the map, stood on some terrain, but had himself quite blocked off, carried everyone forward, had a token on. I think it was Alpha 1 might have had a token on, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can shoot, I can go in, I can shoot Alpha 1, I can shoot Alpha 1, I can drop I can do some damage with the jet, I can drop a tank on his head, and I can put all of my my plexes into. I had to go one attack. I think I ended up going one attack and one in movement to get the actual move forward to do it. But I mean, dropped a tank on his head because of where he'd placed. Everyone's together, so I mean, I killed the robot. Alpha 1 was like now onto a regen click, and I got to place them, so I split everyone up. And Krang crucially did have a token from the beginning. I think he'd also took a damage because he made him giant to get to the running shot click. But from that point, it was a case of managed to get out. Because I'd used an ID card, I'd managed to real buy out Nightwing, who just went, and now Krang can't do anything of meaning. I'd also gave him outwit from the jet, so I outwitted his. You can pick whatever power. I was going to, couldn't. He could pick whatever power he wanted, but he decided that there was none of them were useful because of you can't change your numbers, and he was pretty deep through his dial by this point, and that he really couldn't do much other than that. So I think he killed the tank in the end for some points, and a couple ID cards. But it was basically that one attack hit. Everyone took so much damage, and then I just shut down his team, and I had basically everything left. I hadn't even burnt things like green arrow or anything, so there's not much you could do for it. But that was it. Yeah. Nice guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so everybody else got 2 wins by this point, apart from me, who was 1-on-1.
Yeah.
So into round 3.
Well, going into round 3, I was then paired up against Rob Buckley. And during my practice sessions prior to Nationals, I had 0 luck against Quinjet teams. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to lose this. And I kind of had that mindset going in. Before the match, before we found out that we'd been paired up against each other, I was talking to Rob about, like, you know, practicing and this and the other. And I just kind of sort of said that, you know, Krang has the potential to defeat a Quinjet team, but I'd had no luck doing so. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, well, I can one-shot a Quinjet with Krang, or like in one turn. And he didn't believe me. And so I jokingly said, if I get paired up against you and I get the opportunity, even if it means I'm going to lose the game, I'll kill your Quinjet. And so we kind of laughed about it. And then they announced that we were paired up against each other. And we kind of just both looked at each other and kind of laughed. So I was fortunate enough to win map roll. I put him on the bridge map from the the other side of the Jean Grey School, Manhattan Bridge. First turn I took a 0 movement with Betty, added a sin onto my Rocket Fraternity, passed the turn, and he kind of was like, still sitting there going, I can't understand how you're gonna kill a Quinjet. I was like, well, move it in the middle of the map and I'll show you. But he didn't. But he did. He had positioned his drones really well, so they weren't, because he seen I had a tank there, and they weren't adjacent to the jet. But he did move up the jet a little bit and moved one drone next to the jet. He was playing very cautiously, and he passed the turn. So I thought, you know, if this goes long game, he's won this. So I said to him, right, now I'm going to show you how I'm going to hopefully kill your Quinjet, but then you will then kill me and win the game, because I thought I'd lost at this point. So I did, you know, Krang did what he did. Baxter healed him, made Colossal. Betty perplexed up his damage, so he was dealing 7 damage. Justin sent him in. I picked Precision Strike. Justin sent him in. He shot the Quinjet for 7 damage. Rob was like, are you dropping the tank? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, why not? Well, you can reduce penetrating damage, so what's the point in that? No, just 7 damage. Okay, I'll take 5. Right, now I'm going to charge Flurry you. And he's like, wait, Flurry? Yeah, it's on the Rock of Eternity. Because not many people know how that works, I think. So so then I charged, the tank then followed, I charged and flurried, dropped the tank on him, dealt him 2 penetrating, dealt him 6, hit him again, dealt him 6, he took 4 and killed his Quinjet. And he kind of like, right, okay. And then I kind of moved. I tried to hide behind blocking, forgetting that I was Colossal, so it really wouldn't matter, because I had sidestep on the thing. And at which point he called in Nick with the drone, shot Krang, but like made sure he was dealing enough damage to kill Krang, which he did. And at that point I was like, well, that's game. I may as well just quit. But then I quickly totted up the points and thought, actually no, I'm still up on points here, because I also killed one of his drones. So then kind of made a joke of, if I can get Betty Brant in that tank, it's game over. But like, the tank was in his starting area, Betty was in mine, and she didn't make it there. Needless to say, she got close, but then the tank got destroyed, and it was game over, and I lost, but got some points, so it was quite a high point loss. So that was my round 3. Again, ego took over, I think, a bit on that one, and I got a bit cocky.
Well, you at least got points, so at least if you think, well, I can't really win.
And I did.
Yeah, I think it comes down to has he positioned his drones properly?
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, he was.
If you can go, well, I'll hit you and I'll kill everything, then I win. If I can't kill at least one drone survives,
I was
lose.
disappointed that he kept his 2 drones on elevation, so I couldn't even drop the tank on them. And and then I pointed that out. I was like, afterwards I was like, that's really good, you're putting the drones on elevation, so I couldn't drop the tank on them. And he was like, what? So the tank can't coexist on multiple elevations, and he didn't know that. So but again, it was kind of like, I had said going down, if I come across a Quinjet team, so if I can kill one Quinjet through the day, even if I lose the game, I'll be happy. And it was a fun game. We had a good laugh about it afterwards, and I like Rob, so yeah, it was a good game. But that was my round 3.
Okay, so you're still looking alright on
2-1,
points
yeah.
there. Unfortunately, I had the misfortune of playing your son, Matty, in third round, and he's been like beating me continually with his Jakeem and Faust team because he rolls the nuts, as you say, on Faust. So I lost map roll. I think it was the only map roll I'd lost. He put me on WizKids Office, which I absolutely hate, especially if people are just going to sit in the starting area. And I thought, okay, I said to him, if you roll any on the first turn, I'm conceding. Because he's like, he has a habit of doing that. I wasn't going to, though. I was joking. It was like, if I'd got that into the knockout stages and I did that, I probably would have done. But at this point, I needed the points anyway. So round 1, he goes first. He rolls Orange Power, which is the energy dampeners, which absolutely kills my team. He couldn't put them down yet because it was still first round immunity, but he was with the, as a free action, he could do it before he rolled his d6 again. So I knew that next turn I would have energy dampeners on me and it'd be absolutely bugger to get them off me. So that really stops me calling anybody in. So I used Flash, I think, to try and get me as far up the board as I could at this point. So I ran up like 14 squares, and then I think I had can't remember. I got Real Boyd like Nightwing, I think, who had made giant, who then carried a thug up and ran both of them next to Jakeem and Faust just to distract them. I thought for like a turn or two. Then on his turn, he basically put energy dampeners on everybody. I think he was too wise to even bother attacking Nightwing and the drone. I think he just ignored them because he thought, well, I can get Atom out and then punch them back. So Matty just plays so defensively. He has a 140 point Jakeem, but he said, I don't want Jakeem to take an action, because he could have just smacked the crap out of us with Jakeem or went for the Quinja, or go for like Ant-Man or something. But he just played it cautiously. Just he knew that energy dampeners just like messed us up too much. So we messed around a bit, really, I think, in the starting area, and then I saw an opportunity. But what he'd done as well, when he rolled his d6, he rolled a 5 or 6 because he kept the energy dampeners, so he just applied them again. I thought it's going to be about 5 turns before I actually can call anybody in with my jet. So, and the WizKids Office map is really awkward to actually get any shots off if you haven't got running shot. If you're going to, because I couldn't, obviously, I'd like to run shot with a Quinjet. So I think he'd like taken the tank out or did some damage or something like that. I think I saw an opportunity to actually kill Faust at this point, because I think he'd taken he must have taken a atom shot or something like that when he'd done damage to me. So he'd down on his like 3rd click, and I needed to do 4 damage to him. And actually the thug, I think I did something like made Jarvis giant, who carried Ant-Man. So I had 2 perplexes on the thug's damage, who then whacked Faust and killed him. Then he retaliated by calling Green Arrow and just energy exploding the crap out of my team. And then he proceeded just to run away with Jakeem, and still the Quinjet had energy dampeners on it by the end of the game, I think. So that wasn't much fun. So I'd lost by a reasonable amount of points because like that Green Arrow just wipes out everything that's like standing nearby. But yeah, that's with Faust really. I mean, if he gets a good roll turn 1, especially when I'd lost map and I couldn't get to him very easily, that was just game over. So I wasn't looking very good at that point, having 2 losses after 3 games. So I was getting a bit concerned that I wasn't going to get in the top 8. But anyway, that was me. Dale, your round 3.
So my round 3 was against Will Pratley. This was my first, I think, I'm having a quick look. Apart from one game after this is where I just played nothing but Jakeem. So it was Jakeem, Mr. Mickey Spitlick, Frogman, and the Atom, with a Pandora's box and a few ID cards. Generally, not ones that Jakeem call in. I think he went for the more supporty ones. I think Mixie was meant to call in like TK if he needed it. I think he had the Lex with TK and Perplex on there. A Wonder Woman, which may have been the only Jakeem fighting card he had. And there was one other one which I cannot remember. But yeah, it was a rough game. I managed to mess up. I lost map roll, so because we discussed this against a non-themed team. I have I think it worked out as a 90% chance of winning map roll, just shy of 5% chance of having to re-roll the map, and the rest is that they win. And of course, I lost against a non-themed team. Went for the office and struggled. Did the opening move, called a Captain America, flexed the move, open move forward to get in the centre but behind the walls, and kind of messed myself up a little bit, blocked myself in. I put Jarvis in a square that I needed free for my call-ins. So the second turn, the one I actually had a chance of shooting, I'd had to have gone pretty all in to get the shot off and shooting through the walls and stuff, so it would have been far from ideal. But my intention was to do that to kill Spitlick, because I thought if I can kill him and hurt Jakeem, if Jakeem's got a talker on it, I might have a chance. Messed up by moving Jarvis, thinking it's alright, it's an Avengers team ability, won't count towards my things, and I'll call him in. And he correctly pointed out that I have now broke start of turn. I was like, crap. Managed to rearrange myself into some sort of kind of defensive formation where I can do the action I want to do the next turn, and get anywhere, basically shoot anywhere on the map, and still be able to hit with have a reasonable couple of rerolls, things like that. Maybe not ideal perplexes, but get okay with it. One thing I didn't bank on him doing was he went for a really kind of do or die attack, give Jakeem hypersonic speed, and ran round to shoot the Ant-Man, who had kind of left a little bit out in the open. Luckily, he doesn't see through stealth. He only had his 11 attack and his reroll, and I had 19 defense against it, so I was okay. Managed to not die to that. Managed to get a theme team reroll to survive it. And he went back because he'd now moved further forward. I was able to then get the shot in with all the plexus I needed, through a wall. This was the first time I'd got my shield paranormal investigator out. Kicked out the back end of the tank and the tank jet, walked around to base him, and just shot 6 damage through a wall. He couldn't pick a defense power, so all he had was shape change, which the investigator said he couldn't use. Outwitted his energy shield deflection with the paranormal investigator, and just essentially one-shot him. So he was gone, and then it was just a case of cleaning up from that point. Atom punched me, hit, I think it was just the tank, and killed and uncalled in the paranormal investigator. But from that point, it was just pretty much clean up. I had an awful lot of points left, and just to get jumping back to the tank, and the tank jumping back to the jet, and having the jet finish everyone off. Jet having precision strike was just enough to kill Mixie, because of course he'd activated him, so I only needed 1 for damage, and the rest was just I'll have 13 attack and a bunch of rerolls. And again, game ended, and he actually did get all my ID cards. I think this is a side note. Apart from 3 games, I think I used every single ID card. Perhaps, I think, all bar 1. I think Hank Pym occasionally got left out, but almost every game I used almost every card. Yeah, it's simple as that one. It was unluck on the attack, and obviously not realising that the defence powers just didn't really. Not having that defence power, being able to shoot through the walls, he didn't have much chance. But after that,
I think that that's the thing with Jakeem. Jakeem's like fine if you're just sitting defensively with all your defense powers up, and it's really hard to kill him. But as soon as he goes aggressive, and you've got some ways to shut down, you remember he's got shut down 3 powers, but you can go, well, I can shut down 1 or 2 of them. So as soon as you have to pick hypersonic, or you're picking run shot, or you're picking flurry or something, then he becomes like he's open. He's leaving himself open for the counter attack. Yeah, if he can't take the Quinjet down in one go, but you can take him down in one go if he tries to take the Quinjet down. I think, I don't know. You seem to kill a lot of Jakeems anyway.
Yeah.
But you can do, it's that extra tank damage really that like just finishes them off.
Yeah, it was simple as that really. Shooting through the walls, just help. Like obviously that helps a lot. Of him not realizing that obviously I had the paranormal investigator, because he just let me shut down basically everything, and it became I had like 13 attack with an actual reroll and then 3 theme team rerolls. 2 theme team rerolls I could use. I couldn't get the actions to be able to see everyone else. But it was just a case of the diagonal into the main room turning people tiny, so I could start seeing more of the people, and just get everyone arranged in a nice line, all of the plex they need, and it was unlikely to go wrong. But I thought, if I remember right, he didn't have Eclipso as well, which was kind of key. I think you'd need to possess him.
Yeah, so you didn't have the having the impervious to keep him alive.
No, so without even that, it was like wasn't much you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my third round done.
Good.
Okay, back to Sean.
Round 4. So in round 4, I went up against Tino again. I always seem to face Tino in these competitions or WKOs or whatever. And he had another. He mentioned the team I'd played at the WKO against Batman Superman Robot when I played that. About how you've swapped out Batman Superman Robot for Krang. But he was playing a team of Jakeem, Two-Sin Box, and Mistress Death from the Deadpool set with Brainiac equipped to her, and had said earlier in the day how Mistress Death was going to tie Krang up while sort of Faust would snipe him from the other end of the map. And I knew that Mistress Death was one of these figures that you can't kill or you score points for, but she just keeps resurrecting. But I wasn't really familiar with her dial. I know that if she hits you with a close combat attack or something, then every damage that you take after that is double damage. So I was sort of wary that I didn't want to get up close to her. So we had a bit of banter at the start of the game about how he was gonna we'd played each other 3 times previously, and it was like 3-0 to me, and how he was going to change all that, and this was the time where he was going to beat us. And kind of in the early rounds, he chose TK with Jakeem, and TK'd Mistress Death up, who then tried to make an attack against Krang, only needed a 6, and he crit missed. So he probed it with Jakeem, and he rolled a 3, and he's just like, yeah, it's going to be one of those days. So I had a bit of a chuckle about that, and then promptly killed Mistress Death and sent her back to her starting area, 100 points up. So then he had put Sloth on Mistress Death, so when she comes back on click 3, he was healing her up and taking time to heal her up. And then he did the same thing again a couple of turns later. So I shot Mistress Death again and killed her 100 points up, and I thought, wow, this is great. I can do this all day. But then he started to kind of sidestep up with Jakeem, and I was a bit wary of what he was going to do with Jakeem. So I waited until I had 0 action tokens, and I was kind of trying to mentally keep an eye on the time, and although it was. We didn't hear the judge call the last 10 minutes of the round, so I kind of was thinking he positioned himself where it was very difficult for me to get a single target pulse wave off, but I managed to do it. I counted it out, and I'm like, I'm 4 squares away from Jakeem. I can single target him, but I'm 5 squares away from Mistress Death, so she's not in the range, but I'm going to get pulse wave by her next turn, but she's only dealing 2 damage, so I'm not too worried about that. and as I then declared the attack, and the judge called final action. So then my final action of the game was to single target pulse with Jakeem with knockback, because I was playing it on the Force Blast click again, and to KO Jakeem. And like the look on Tino's face, oh bless him, yeah, he wasn't happy, because
You'd farmed
I
him for
did.
points.
Well, it was funny because like I said, like single target pulse wave dealing 7 damage. He's like, right. I says, and force blast, and he looked at us and he went, "Where are you getting force blast from?" Much the same as what Alex had said. And I'm like, "From the rock." He went, "Oh, you can't force blast me. Jakeem flies." And I went, "What?" He went, "Jakeem can't be force blast. He's got flight." I went, "Well, firstly, that's not a thing. And secondly, he hasn't got flight because he's in the area of effective pulse wave, so that shuts down his flight. So that'll knock him back in the wall." And he kind of, yeah, that's him dead. So we kind of like shook hands and went, "That's 4-0 now, isn't it?" You know? And we had I had a laugh about it, and we kind of walked away. But yeah, that was my 4th round. So I came away with that with 300 and I killed. He's playing the tank as well, and the first time I killed Mistress Death, I dropped the tank, so because she was carrying the tiny tank around, so I killed his tiny tank as well before I had a chance to drop it. And he ended up getting the 50 points for my main tank. So I think it was like 352 points or something I ended up scoring off him. So, and he got 50 off me, so I was quite happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
That was my 4th round.
So, me into 4th round, right? So I had 2 rounds left, and I knew that I'd lost 2 losses, so I need to win both these games. I need to get a lot of points as well. So I was a bit nervous at this point. Round 4, I was playing Howard Kenwood, who was basically playing your Bat Soups team. Well, it's not your Bat Soups team, but the same Bat Soups team that you've played in the past. So I with Faust and Justin and Baxter. I think he had just a standard. Yeah, Baxter. I think so. Anyway, I won map. Or did he win map? I think this is one time when I lost map, even though he wasn't themed and I had +5. So yeah, typical. He put me on a map that I wasn't really fussed about anyway. It was just like one of the premium indoor maps, warehouse or something like that.
Yeah.
It didn't really have a lot of like blocking terrain, but it had like a bit of blocking terrain in near the starting area where he could, because the indoor map, he could hide his bat soups. I think that's probably what he was playing that map for. So I think he rolled early on, like on his Faust dial, that I could only do something close combat attacks within 7 squares, something like that. Because I could actually get to him if I wanted to, but I'd have to perplex, or both my perplexes would have to go in my range for my whoever was going to attack him, Quinjet. And I thought, that makes it a bit
not worth it.
I thought, I'm not going to do that. I think I called in Flash, ran right up, and used both my perplexes on. It mustn't have been. I think it must have been free actions. I can't remember. Anyway, it didn't stop me doing free actions within that. So it mustn't have been close combat actions, or within Faust. I basically spent both my perplexes on perplexing down Batsoup's attack, because like he had the tank. Oh, he had the tank as well. I don't think he was playing any ID cards, and he was playing the tank instead of like the 2 ID cards, which you get points for. So I thought, well, you've got a 9 attack Batsoup. If you want to drop the tank on me, that's an 8 attack. And because of the defend off the Quinjet, everybody was at least 18, and I had 3 theme probs. So I thought, yeah, you're going to do that and you're going to miss, and then I'll get you if your Faust gives me a better dice roll. So I think he didn't roll anything useful with Faust. He tried to hit me with Bat Soups, but I don't think I even needed the theme probs, because he just couldn't get his attack. He had 1 perplex to try and cancel out the -1, he'd get off the tank, so it's like he needed 9s to hit me, and he didn't have any prob. He was playing like Pandora's box, and he'd rolled like the running shot instead of prob, so no prob, needing 9s to hit, and I had theme probs. That wasn't going to work out too well, so he then sort of moved back a bit to try and sidestep with bat soups and carry everybody. And I had a token on my jet, so I couldn't really call anybody in. I could have probably tried to real boy out Nightwing or something for the tank, but I just did a running shot with the jet, shot Faust, dropped a tank on his head, which killed Faust, and did 2 damage to everybody standing next to him, which was everybody else, and that sort of left him in not a very great position. Obviously separated out Justin and Baxter from Batsoups. Batsoups then goes down like a 10 attack with like exploit, and he'd lost all of the outwit, so he wasn't going to be able to do very much against the jet, and that was like right next to him. So I think he had a bit of a swing, or he might try to heal up the jet. I think he must have like hit the tank or something, because I remember bringing in Atom, who punched him, and I think he tried to punch Atom back, missed, which triggered his retaliation again, so Atom punched him again, and I must have cleared up with one of the ID call-ins, I think. But yeah, it was just that, because Batsoups, maybe he's not having prob on that first turn. If he had like a couple of probs, he might have been able to get the first attack in. But just those 2 perplexes are really, perplexing somebody's attack down twice, and so they've got a 9 attack, and because the defend on the Quinjet makes me very difficult to hit. Unless he keeps rolling like Lockdown with Faust, I think that's a difficult matchup again. I quite like playing the Justin matchups because the tank just like really messes them up. If you don't kill them, you just separate them out, so he's basically useless for the rest of the game. So I tabled him, which I was quite happy about. I thought, well, if I get the next game, I can wipe that person out, then I might just have a chance of squeaking through to the top 8. So that was me.
Yeah, so me then. So I played Stuart Kenward, ended up being the runner-up. He was playing Jakeem, surprise. Bizarro, a tank, an Atom, and a Atomica, and then having the Pandora's box with a couple of sins on it and a couple ID cards. I think he was playing the Nick Fury Green Arrow ID cards, as pretty much everyone does, and this is the one where I messed up. He didn't really seem to know what my team did. I did win the map roll on this one and got my Mount Olympus. The same thing as the whole that was planned. It was Captain America. It was move forward to the position I needed to, and then get a call in, have everyone sidestep up, and have all the plexes on it. Shoot who I needed to, drop a tank on the head. This is probably where the mistake came. Yeah, this is the mistake. He had tokened up first turn his Jakeem, so I thought it'll be alright. I won't bother. So he's moved forward a little bit. I thought I'll get out Nick. I'll shoot and kill Bizarro and everything else in his and the little teeny tank, because that's too annoying to leave alive. Drop a tank on his head, do a little bit of damage to Jakeem, and then he's going to either push to hit like the jet or something, which doesn't really do anything, and then I'll be able to attack him a couple of times before he gets to do much, or I can or he's going to clear, and then I again just get to running shot up, finish off the rest of his stuff, and really whack Jakeem. It all went off exactly as it was. What I didn't keep in mind is that he was going to play Ham, and he fully ran the back of the temple map to try and have a shot at Atom, knowing that Atom was what was basically going to give me the manoeuvrability to get around everywhere, see over that hunk of terrain. He didn't hit the attack. I got away with that, but I might have hit the attack actually. No, I didn't at that point, but he did later on kill it. He did that, went to hypersonic speed and energy steal, and he did have a Calypso on it this time, so was harder to get some damage to stick, even when he did pick that kind of powers. And it was just a case of I couldn't do enough damage. Did get the green arrow out, did shoot him, but even with all the perplexes on it, it's still only 3 damage. And I'd basically fired everything too early, probably more than I needed to, and couldn't kill him. He ended up flying around, didn't touch the tank. I was left with quite a few points left, but because there was so few points I'd taken off him, because essentially everything was tied up, almost everything was tied up in Shaquem. I couldn't catch up with, and I think he ended up getting a solid 200 points out of me from all of my IDs, the tank, and a couple of the characters he'd managed to kill. And that was that really. I just came to the conclusion that Nick has to kill Shaquem when I'm playing it. I don't necessarily
have to get rid of it. That's the only way you can get rid of his invincible, basically.
It's
if he
only way
to keep it. Yeah,
that's essentially it. It's just a case of that's his job. He has to do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the first attack. You can still play your game, but if it comes to the point where you never use it, that's fine. But Nick has to be the calling to kill that guy. There's just nothing else you can do against Shaquem. And so I learnt that, which will help later on. That's my game 4.
Cool.
Okay, round 5 then.
Well, round 5 I was paired up against Dale, and I made a mistake straight away. Firstly, I misplaced figures in my starting area. I'm not sure if I said that to you, Dale, but I misplaced figures in my starting area. Because I knew Dale was playing all bar a few changes to IDs. He was playing an identical team to you, Chris, and I'd had absolutely zero luck when playing against you. I knew that if I made it to maybe round turn 3, I was lucky against the Quinjet, because once you pop that 25-point Nightwing out, it's pretty much game over for Krang. He becomes, his stats aren't great. Doesn't really do much. So what I had been doing in previous rounds, I'd been giving Betty a move action of 0, so that a second turn I could push out a perplex. I knew that the Quinjet was -1 to movement because of Betty's trait. I do have to say this, which I found quite funny. Dale, you had a +5 to map roll, and you rolled a 6, and I still beat you for map roll on an unthemed team, because I rolled a crit, which I found absolutely hilarious. But in saying that, it didn't do me any good.
Which map?
I put them on the Manhattan Bridge map. The only 2 games I won map roll on,
yeah.
I chose that map and I lost both games. That's a spoiler for what I'm about to say. So yeah, I knew that. I was obviously I forgot to put an action on Betty to push her, and I'm counting out the squares, thinking he can get to me, and it was only then as I was counting out the squares, Dale's like, "Oh yeah, I've got Captain America that can make the jet move half its movement," and I'm like, "Oh damn, you might not have realised that had I not have physically been counting out the squares from his starting area." So I did the sin on the Rock of Eternity and just passed the turn without tokening Betty up, thinking first round immunity, I've still got it. And I think Dale, you just kind of passed the turn, didn't you, on your turn, because you counted out and you thought there's no way Crank can hit me from where I am, and because I didn't have that extra perplex to perplex at range, I just couldn't get to him. So on my second turn, I call, because I was playing some IDs as well, which I forgot to mention at the start. On my second turn, I went, right, I've practiced this against Chris. I know that if I can call him Batman and give the tiny tank an action to use Smoke Cloud, and every character adjacent to Batman has stealth, including Batman, I'll do that. And it was at that point that I thought, oh no, I've positioned them totally wrong, so everybody is in stealth.
Could you not hit Sean, just to interrupt you, could you not have just shot him turn 2 then? Did you not have
I didn't have the range. I was one shy on turn 2.
Did you?
I could. Sorry, I could
Was
have.
Krang like
I
on the
could
back
have.
row?
I could have. I could have got him, but I wanted to get both attacks off
The kill.
to do enough damage because I thought I can get there, but then I'm stuck there. And
Right.
I
You
wouldn't
have killed the map, but you wouldn't have killed the.
I wouldn't have scored enough points to and I was desperately wanting the win. And I thought he hasn't got flash on his sideline, so he's -1 to movement, and I will just play this out and I'll do the stealth thing. And I could see the puzzled look on Dale's face when I called in Batman and Smoke Cloud, and he's like, and then that's when I realised that the only one who wouldn't have stealth would be Betty, who was the one with the lowest defense. And I thought, oh no. So then, because I was then counting out to make sure that he couldn't get to me, and thinking, oh, he can get to me, that's when he was like, oh, I've got Captain America, haven't I? And pretty much after that, it was game over, because I think he called out Captain America, sent his jet up, spun the resource there, brought out Nightwing, as a free boy, outside a wild carded the Avengers initiative, outsided Krang, dropped the tank on Betty, and like separated everyone, and it just went downhill from there. He KO'd my Krang, but he called in quite a few IDs to do so, and I'm thinking, well, at least I've got points. Not many, but at least I've got points. And Dale, had you called out one more damn ID card, I would have made top 8.
There was. I don't think I had the action. No. I don't think I had anyone to call in anybody else. I think everybody who was cheap enough to call out was either a real body or had been used.
Had I not like messed around first trying to work out how am I going to get everyone in stealth, we probably would have had a little bit extra time, and that might have enabled you to call in another ID card. So I've only got myself to blame. But Dale totally destroyed my team, I think.
Hey, we're not a different team. We don't collude.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, Dale made short work of my team once he got into that position where every turn he could Nightwing me. In fact, even you called in. I think I lasted one more turn, and then Nick came on the board, I think, and just finished up, if I can remember rightly. But that was I faced. During my 5 rounds, I faced 3 former national champions, beat 2, lost to 1. So not too bad. I can't complain.
It still could have went really sour for me. I mean, there was one when it all dropped off and putting everyone round. There was that. You almost got it with the sidestep. Just trying to sidestep and breaking away from the tank. If you'd have got that, if you got sidestep, because you can't put them any further away from each other. If you got both sidestep breakaways, it would have been meet back up in the middle with Justin and Krang, and even without the turning giant and getting all your bonuses, I still think that would have hurt a lot, because you'd have had your flurry, I think, because you'd have put the token, so you had your flurry and you could have picked whatever power you wanted. There was nothing I could do.
Well, I mean that was the
rough
plan. That's what I was trying for. I just needed to succeed with those sidestep breakaway. The plan was to pick Steel Energy and Flurry and try to get a bit of health back, get rid of Nightwing early doors, so then you couldn't outside of me. And then, unfortunately, I failed my sidestep with Justin, I think it was, and then. Kind of went. I mean,
I think
sorry, I'm with Krang. I mean,
I think even if you had done that,
sorry,
I'm interrupting you. I think even if you had done that, because the Jet's next to you, then as soon as Nick Fury comes out, you're in bother. Even if you can take out the other guys, that gets you so far down your dial that then you can't afford to then push.
I think I had one turn where I knew you can't call anyone in with a Jet because you're tokened. So now's the time to try and heal up if I can, But
then you've got to worry about Adam coming out as well and punching you in the face. So there's a lot of.
I mean, I knew it was an uphill battle going against, because I practiced against your version of the team, Chris, a few times, and I was lucky to last past round 3. But I knew I knew the Quinjet.
It's that Nightwing
Yeah,
does it.
definitely that Nightwing just cripples me completely. But I mean, that was for for the listeners. That was then me out of the tournament. Yeah, by 4 points. But
Yeah, and one evil person
some evil
pushed you out.
some evil person pushed me out, and some even eviler person scored 5 points more than me. But we'll come on to that later.
Yeah. Oh, that was both
Yes,
me. Okay, so you two have done yours, and right? So
Yeah,
me
so-
in the last round, I basically had to win this and get like maximum points, or I was out. Fate decreed that I would be playing Tino in the last round. So Tino, as you played him before, was playing the Jakeem Mistress Death team. I'd won map roll, did the same thing, ran. I thought, I'm going to try let's run Nightwing into the starting area to distract him and see how that works. So basically I'd called in Captain America, moved the jet up on the Mount Olympus map. I'd real boyed Nightwing, who I made giant, I think, and then just carried a thug standing next to Jakeem and what's her face, Mr. Death. Basically, because I knew next round Nick Fury would be able to one-shot Jakeem with a tank and he'd have no defense powers as long as he did not pick Invincible and Shape Change. So all I needed to do, the Nightwing and Thug, was a distraction to say, hey, why don't you pick Flurry and kill both of them, or why don't you pick Poison or something like that, or why don't you pick Plasticity to try and just move away from them. So as soon as he picked anything apart from Invincible and Shape Change, he was dead the next turn, guaranteed pretty much, because Nick and 3 theme probs, it just, he's dead. Thankfully Tino decided to pick Flurry. He killed Nightwing and the Thug. Next turn Nick came out and he was dead, which is pretty much game over because Mrs. Death was sort of sat there going, oh, I guess I don't resurrect. So I think he decided to run away with Mrs. Death, hide in the corner. I think at this point I'd had enough points to get Spectrum out, which I think in hindsight Spectrum didn't really do much, but I jumped her in the jet and then I think the next turn I run and shot pulsed with Mr. Death and killed her. No, I didn't actually. I think I tried to shoot her with Green Arrow and forgot she had Shape Change, this is after the jet had cleared, and then she rolled a Shape Change, and I think the turn after I must have had enough to get Spectrum out, and run and shot pulsed with the death. So just goes to show that Jakeem dies pretty easily to Nick and Tank. You just have to try and encourage them to not pick Invincible and Shape Change, and they die every time. So that got me a win with just about maximum points, because I think he had an ID card that he had not used. So I was still sweating on that. I thought, after having a quick discussion with a few other people who won 3-2, I thought, I think that might be me in 9th place. I didn't think I was going to get through to the top 8. But as Sean had hinted at, I squeaked through, just coming ahead of Sean, who finished 9th. So that was me into the top 8, and Dale was in as well. Sean unfortunately had just missed out.
Yeah.
So we then move into the top 8, which, if I remember right, I'm going to pull it up because I want to have everyone's name. I think Rob was King of the Swiss. Is that right?
It was Stu, I think. Was it Rob or
Stu was King.
Was either Rob or Stu? I'm not sure. I think it was Rob. It was Rob.
It was Rob. Because I think he.
That's right. Yeah, because he was doing the Quinjet team as well, wasn't he?
I think I came. Was I second or third for it? I must have been second because I played.
Yeah, because you could be
Alex, who was 7th. But yeah, we. Long story short, I think it was just a depressing for me, my opinion was it was depressing to see that the teams were Jakeem, Quinjet, Quinjet, the Trinity of Sin team base. God bless Felix getting that thing through it, and the team of the I can't remember what his full team was made out of, but Ant's team for the best team that made top 8 by none.
Element Man
Metallo.
and Metallo.
Metallo, yeah, Element Man, Metallo, Eclipso on Metallo, I think.
Oh, Metallo, yeah.
Metallo, yes. I've got his armor sheet there, and Pandora's box was 2 sins.
And an ID card.
And a Green Arrow ID card, yeah.
And I mean, getting into the top 8 with that, like, just that's just phenomenal.
That was 4
I've got
wins
something to
as
say
well.
about that at the end as well.
It'd be 2 Jakeem teams.
I've got something to say about that at the end as well, but I'll wait until we've recapped everything, and then I've got something to say.
Another thing to note, there was not half as many. Like, once we got to this point, I'd realised that there wasn't as many Fausts as I was expecting. I mean, there was as many Jakeems and Jets as I was expecting. That's disappointing, but there wasn't as many Fausts as. I mean, that was my big worry. Was coming up against a Faust team, because as Chris had felt the back end of it, as power dampeners just turned, you just lose.
But to be fair, one Faust is still one too many.
One Faust is one too many, but it's not the player's fault. It's the game's. But yeah. So we got on to top 8. Chris, you would. I can't remember who you played first. You go ahead. You have a slightly shorter story.
Is it? I don't know if it is. I played Robert Buckley again. Rematch time. Again, I won map. Went on to Mount Olympus. I thought, I want to try and take his drones out this time. Must go for his drones. So, I moved up into my normal position where I wasn't being cagey, and I placed all my little dudes in just on objects. Everybody's going right. All me, Red Wing and Ant-Man and Tank were just going right. I put all the objects in the right place. Went up to there, and I said, right, he can Alpha Strike me with his jet, but he's gonna have to face 3 theme probs, and hopefully that could make him miss. So he'd looked at me and thought, well, I could. This is basically because I'd moved up far enough. Next turn, I could have Green Arrowed, taken out all his drones, which would have left me in a much stronger position than I played the last time when I went for his Quinjet. He'd and ahed about it and said, he'd looked at it and gone, right, the easiest defense to hit was a 19, because my 3 dudes, he needed to hit basically Ant-Man, Red Wing and the tank and kill them by dropping his tank on them. And that was, he needed, so he was looking at a 10 against 19 to this jet. He did have Lex Luthor, so he thought if he called in Captain America running shot, he needed like a 4 or 5 or 6 on the resource. Get out Lex would have given him a better chance of it. So he went for it, because I think that was the only sensible option after he had to think. So he did. He got in Lex, running short just enough. He had to flex up his attack because he was getting the -1 from dropping the tank. He was going for Red Wing because that was the lowest defense that I had. He needed an 8. He needed 8 4 times because I was going to use all my theme probs, and he rolled an 8 4 times, which I subsequently looked up. It was a 10% chance because he had a prob from Lex. 10% chance of doing that. Which is like looking at approximately a 10.5 or something, and 2 dice without any probs. So it was a risky maneuver, but he didn't really. So that basically killed Ant-Man, killed my tank, killed Red Wing, and left me a bit scuppered because I couldn't get around to shoot his drones either. So I was a bit set back by that. I think, use Atom to kill the tank, and did a couple of clicks on his Quinjet because I outwitted its invulnerability. But I was on the in a bit of bother there really, because I'd lost like that perplex off Atman, which was pretty big as well. And obviously now I had no way of seeing over the stupid big blocking train that was inhabiting the center of the map. So basically I was just trying to pick off his drones and see if I could get up on points at this point. I think he took out my Adam. I think I took out a drone. I think then his Henry died. I think, yeah, because Adam had taken out that. So after a little bit of killing off our support guys, I think I was down on points a bit. So I think I had a green arrow shot, and I was killed his Lex, which put me up. He then got enough real boy points to get out Nick, the real boy. He shot Jarvis after like turning off his defense power, which didn't actually kill Jarvis. He was on his last click. And I know that time was getting on now, so I basically legged it with the jet to the farthest corner of the map that I possibly could, and sort of crossed my fingers, because it's really difficult to actually tell how many points you've scored off the Quinjet. I think we at some point paused to count up points, but then we killed a couple of other things, and I had no idea if I was up on points. I thought, well, Jarvis, I am, but then if you can kill Jarvis, I think I'm probably going to lose. So Jarvis was on his last click, so I was hoping that he couldn't get to me, but he had a call-in Firestorm, like the run shot, the energy explosion. So he basically had that to hit my jet and energy explode, which would then kill Jarvis. And as I say, it was anybody's guess whether he would won at that point. So of course he ran up, energy exploded, had no prob. I had no prob. He rolled a critical hit, which not only killed Jarvis, but also did 3 damage and knockback to the Thug, which ended up killing him. And that was basically the end of the game at that point. And we counted up our points, and he'd won by about 3, which was basically the Thug. If he hadn't a critical hit that Thug, I would have won on points. So it was a bit like the dice had beat me when I was thinking about. You think, right, you needed like 10% chance and a 3% chance on those 2 attacks to hit both, and he would win. So if you look at it that way, it was basically, the dice had beat me. But I think really, it's going back to what I said about Rob. He knew enough to say, right, he had to take that risk at the start. Because if I'd have taken out all his drones with like Green Arrow, then I don't think he'd be able to come back from that. So he knew that he had to take that chance, and he really, luck favours the bold, or you make your own luck, or something like that. But he took his chance. He knew that he had to, and dice had pulled him out. But so that was me basically out.
Yes, so that's on
Yes,
to me
you
then.
for the rest of the podcast.
Me. So I came up against Alex, who I at this point had faced 5 times in the 2 times I've been to nationals. A qualifier where he beat me the first time I was going, but I managed to qualify coming second because he'd already qualified. The day before the nationals, when I was playing a daft team because I'd already qualified, beat me there. Beat me during my run to the first time I won in 2015. Knocked out by Chris, so that I didn't have to play him. Bless him. Then I've played him 1 more time since then in the sealed, and every single time it was just a case not sealed, sorry, playing the qualifier for this year. He beat me on that as well. Playing an identical team to what he's playing now, which is the Jakeem, Faust with Brainiac, Eclipso, Rock, the standard. And I'd played this game out of my head. I knew exactly what I needed to do for it. I won my map roll, so I thought this isn't going to be too bad. It basically comes down to he will get one dice roll, and on the D20, and it's essentially somewhere between 25% and 30% chance he gets something that destroys my team, and then we actually have a proper game and I probably lose. Or he doesn't roll that and I have to roll like a 4 with 4 probs and I'll be okay. Luckily he didn't roll the one thing he needed. I managed to kill Faust straight away and damage his Jakeem, and then Jakeem had options for like a daft shot to try and kill off Ant-Man, so then he had a chance of stopping the disguises. I had a couple of goals for it, but in the end it was a case of he couldn't do all that much. I managed to get out my paranormal activity guy again. I dropped an atom retaliation on him. The one turn I got my stopping his out in his stealth and his shape change and his prop control with the paranormal investigator, and shot him with Nick for the win in, I think it was turn 4. It was a very quick one, which it was always going to be with that kind of team. The next round was against is it Tom Rodden?
Yeah.
Sorry Tom, I think this is the first time I played him.
Playing the exact same team?
He playing the exact same team. He won map roll this time, and props to him. I don't think he's played Heroclix a lot. Definitely not at the kind of level that we're at now. I mean, he's the top 4 of nationals, but he won map. He picked the Hank Pym's map, which is fine. That was a pretty good counter against my team. But then moved forward. He did manage to get. He didn't play as defensive as I was expecting. I thought he was going to sit right at the back in the wall till he got the result he needed with Faust, then fly forward and take somebody key out of my team, and then the game starts off. And if he gets an injured Adpenners, I really do struggle from that point. But he didn't, and he didn't cower. He moved forward for it. I managed to, with a good plex, get a running shot off to kill Faust. The third turn, I think it was my second turn. Managed to shoot Faust and kill him. Managed to stealth shield.
Because you can just kill. You can kill. Just go back. You can kill actually Faust by shooting through a wall with Green Arrow, even without the Psychic Blast, as long as you get his damage up to 5 and drop a tank on his head.
Yeah, that was essentially what I had to do. Yeah, that's how I described that. Yeah, got that. Managed to obviously drop it on his head. Set up a nice little stealth shield so that he couldn't shoot my jet. All he could shoot. So he'd have to have like hypersonic or moved forward. Instead he sidestepped and cleared. So I took another pop shot at him. He made one attack against one of my support pieces, Lex I think it was, who was able to energy exploded, but it wasn't enough to do anything particularly meaningful to my lineup. And then it was just a case of I managed to real boy out Hank Pym, who had based him when he had already had one token. He was on his last click because I shot him with Nick. His options were either clear, in which case he was going to get a 12 attack with 2 prob controlled, pulse waves from Hank Pym, and then even that I can then follow up with a running shot from the jet to try and kill him. Or he can try and regen, and then he's got 2 tokens and we just clear, and then I pulse wave him potentially twice in a row. He didn't really have, there was no good solutions, so he ended up dying to the jet shoot, I think it was. The next one, this is the final now. This is Stuart again. This is the one who beat me earlier on, but this time I'd learnt from my mistake. Wasn't going to do the same thing. Won the map again, put up the exact same setup. This time, instead of when I had my initial shot, instead of calling in Nick, I called in Green Arrow. Now, this is a side note. I did not realise this until we'd finished the tournament, that if you are giant, you can step over the middle of the map in Mount Olympus. I did not know this. Wasted 2 perplexes on my initial attack on this to get the range, because I wanted to shoot the atom to get rid of that. So essentially he'd understood, because he'd obviously seen this before, knew what I was going to do, so atom went into a bush just forward. Everyone else stayed at the back. Everyone around Green Arrow, Bizarro, except for Atomica, who was who was essentially a little bit further ahead, just next to Jakeem. So I packed everything in. This was I think it was a 10 attack, so I was needing a 7. I had several rerolls, but it wasn't. So did he. It wasn't ideal by any stretch. I managed to get the hit off. I shot with energy explosion, so I did killed the Atom. I killed his tank. Did 1 damage to to Bizarro, and dropped a tank on his head. I didn't drop the tank. I held off on this because I knew I needed to kill off Jakeem. Managed to hurt Jakeem though because of the energy explosion. He then came forward to try and do an attack, which missed. It was in a case I running shot my jet over to shoot Bizarro and dropped a tank on. Miscounted, so Bizarro actually didn't die, but Jakeem was now quite hurt, was a little bit hurt. Managed to get some real boys in to finish off Bizarro because I'd managed to separate the two of them. It was essentially Bizarro wasn't doing anything. He was just points to pick up at that point. He tried to fly over, punching me Ant-Man on the way to try and fly over with steel energy to hypersonic across the opposite side of the map to save himself, but couldn't get far enough away that I couldn't just call the Nick and shoot him after I'd cleared. So that was actually what happened. It was just a final shot. He didn't get the map, and obviously I'd learned from my mistake, and all my attack rolls went. The only one that wasn't pretty much guaranteed was the Green Arrow one, which I ended up having to pour 3 rerolls into. So I only had 1 theme team left, but I got the game, and became the 2-time national champion.
Yay!
Yay!
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
And then you'd foolishly agreed beforehand to share prizes.
I stand by that decision. I'd always said essentially before this event I hadn't played a single game with this particular team. Before that I was playing the older version with the pre-tank version using the Ant-Man. So I had a couple of games with that version, but even then I hadn't had all that much success with it. I didn't manage to qualify because Chris beat me by a point. Curse you.
Well, the tank makes all the difference. Basically, the tank makes a difference, and also really Ant-Man, because Ant-Man is the best support figure in the entire game for 50 points. If you know how to play him on that particular map, because he's basically giving you improved targeting, ignore everything, So that with the Plex and the fact that you can theme with the tank just makes that team just so much better. But yeah, you'd obviously played it better than me though. So, and I think the difference, well, personally from a personal perspective, as we're going on to talking about anything else we want to talk about, is that I think you adapted to, like different styles. Just like I was like focusing on Nick Fury, boom, you're dead. Nick Fury, boom, you're dead. Well, if I'd have come across say Stu's team, I'm not sure if I'd have thought about I need to keep my Nick Fury back. I want to hit you with something else and then keep Nick Fury back to finish you off. Because I think it's very tempting to do the Nick Fury shot and just kill Bizarro in one go, but then you're left with how can I get through Jakeem's invincible. So yeah, that was
you'd learned that was the question. That was what I'd learned.
Well, I'm sort of
I think to be honest, the difference was obviously the ID cards were slightly different. I think I got more use out of my paranormal.
I think I made a mistake. I always change stuff at the last minute with any team. I can't leave well alone. I always have to make a little tweak or so. But yeah, I don't think that helped me, because I don't think something like Green Lantern seems really good. He does an awful lot, but I think he'd better suited to say an indoor map where his barrier can really shine. Yeah, well, the map we were wanting to play on, he didn't really do enough for that, so I didn't really need him. I could have just had Lex, and I think he did the right choice really with behind Pym as well.
But I think it basically boiled down to you faced and had some unfortunates with Faust, which I lucky enough had 3 rolls against me with that D20 and didn't once hit anything that could stop me. And I didn't face another Quinjet, which, as I said, I don't think a full power Quinjet. I'd have been interested to play against Rob, because I feel like, I think we spoke about this, I didn't understand how you couldn't beat it.
Because I couldn't.
I felt like
Yeah.
Green Arrows.
But then I could have done, but if he hadn't like killed Ant-Man and stuff, he was going to get Green Arrows. But because he was playing Captain America, which you don't often see a lot of people standard sort of Quinjet teams play, and it does enable you to get that Alpha Strike. So if I set myself up for an Alpha Strike, I also set him up for an Alpha Strike, and I was just hoping that my theme probs would protect me, and my sort of high, you get the high defense. But it doesn't always. Numbers are not enough sometimes. Somebody's howling in the background. That's Sean, I think.
Yeah, it's my dog.
So that was essentially it. I still stand by it. I basically got the majority of my how to play this team came from the 4-5 hours worth of chatting I'd had with Chris, who was testing it for me and then passing on basically absolutely everything to me, and had spent an awful lot of time explaining how to do every action. I hadn't thought of the move the Quinjets full, kick out Nightwing, and then hit some of the tank. That's something he basically explained to me. I wish I'd listened better and picked up on the Green Arrow walking over that rock, because that would have saved me twice.
But I'd played this very similar thing in last Nationals, because I was basically playing the same sort of team, but just with drones instead of the Quinjet. But I think the Quinjet obviously is 17 clicks long, so yes, you cannot kill it very easily. So this, and obviously the tank just takes it over the edge. I think looking at the teams, I do think that is because we basically built to kill Jakeem and Krang, and a lot of Jakeem and Krang turned up. I think if we'd have had a lot of Don't Die teams turn up, it would have been a much more difficult proposition. Yeah, because you just can't risk using any of your ID cards. Or maybe it's one ID card you use.
You can risk one.
So I think we looked out. I think in the fact that no one had gone. If there was a few of them show up, I think we'd have struggled. And also, especially if you lose against them, and then you get 0 point loss or something like that, which really sets you back. So yeah. But that was it. As I said, I still stand. I'm happy to have shared my prizes. I feel like Chris taught me everything I needed to play the game on the fly. And I think he learned almost everything from his team, from them putting up with the fact that he was smashing them with his brutal team repeatedly. So I thought that where it's due. The only thing that hurt me was the breaking the factory seal. I'd have happily shared everything, but we did let you keep the common around.
I did get and I was amazed that it came with the fast force.
Yeah, that was a surprise, wasn't it?
The dice and token set, and
the release date OP
Terror.
Yeah.
All of this I missed, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Look at all of the daft little bits," and I saved myself 30 quid on not having to order these two.
Well, at least if you keep it in the team, then generally, if people aren't getting rid of them, they're there available for other people to borrow. And I think that is something that I do like, the fact that we share prizes, even though it might come to bite you in the bum, and you think, well, everybody else has done rubbish and I've done really well, and I'm going to share my prizes. But it does encourage people to come along, even if they're not going to get and they know that at the end of the day, as long as somebody does well, then we'll all come home happy. And the prizes, but there was a lot of prizes there. So even
very generous,
as I say, to me, you and Ant.
Did we post our team prizes?
I did take a picture, but I forgot to post it or something. I'll have to include it. Maybe it's on the website. But yes, there was a shed load of prizes. Because
our table when we were breaking it up.
It took us about 2 hours. We could have got home 2 hours earlier if we hadn't done that, because it took us ages to share everything,
arrange everyone together, and
take pictures. Share it out. So
I just want to. Sorry, I just want to go back to Ant's team. I think that was the surprise team of the tournament, but I'm not going to name any names. But there was somebody who was kind of berating Ant for playing that team and assuming that every person who he went up against, it was an auto win. The term auto win was used, and I just think that that was well bang out of order.
BM.
Yeah. I mean, he proved them wrong. He managed to, he managed to make it to the top 8 cut. 4 wins, one loss in Swiss. So, and he beat Jakeem team. So, props to Ant. He did well.
Good on him.
Yeah. That's it.
And I've wanted that Metallo to be good for so long. I
think he was. You've
so
seen
good.
him make play when you could put the sniper rifle on him. So that was his bit of a downfall because he's a bit slow and he hasn't got much range. So he's obviously relying quite a lot on Element Man's TK to get him up into the fight and that. But yeah, I think Ant has come along. He's only been playing the game not very long.
Yeah, he's been playing.
So
not long,
so dragging these people along and to competitive events, I think, is benefiting. I think we need to do more of the practicing together because, as I said before we started the podcast, Dale, we've got the best resource that you could possibly have in Dale, and because he lived a little bit far away, we don't really get to play with him very much. So we will have to get some more practice days. Yes,
correct.
And it obviously benefits everybody really because Dale gets a bit more practice, and if he keeps winning stuff, we get more prizes. So
everyone gets things. It's investment.
It's an investment in our time and effort. But yes, it is very nice to see not just one of us did well, that we all got, even if we didn't all qualify, we all took away a lot of scalps.
Yeah,
I think it's just we've got something to work towards. Let's see if all of us can get into to the top 8 next time.
Yeah.
Or a few more.
Well, I think we all came top. I think if the 5 was 6 of us who went down, all top. I think the lowest of us was 14th out of 30 something.
29, 30, something like that. Yeah.
I think that's respectable. And then when you start going, 3 in the top, 4 in the top 9. I mean, that's pretty. It's just missing the cut, and that's pretty good.
No, I'm happy. I mean,
that away.
God, I mean, it's my second nationals. I didn't even qualify the year previous. I'm happy that I'm happy with my.
And if you'd have got into the top 8, you'd knocked me out of the top 8. So
Exactly. Yeah. So.
You may have done a bit better though against Rob. I don't know. You'd have just killed the Squinja and then went home.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anything else we want to say about the nationals? Because I know that because it had been moved. Cause obviously, we hadn't mentioned, but it was in Manchester, apart from Games not at Games Expo. And I think the reason that it changed that was basically just for timing, because WizKids wanted or needed the nationals to finish before their Worlds competition. So their Worlds is it's the same weekend as basically the Games Expo. So I think there was a lot of less people coming from the south coast. I think it was only the Kenwood brothers, as I refer to them as, who come up from the south coast. I think none of the other guys from Brighton or Bournemouth or Isle of Wight had come up, which is a shame. But they'd had their own little event on Saturday instead. So it was a shame that Manchester is not ideal for just geographical location in the UK, and I don't particularly think the store was because they were trying to run Heroclix and Dice Masters and Attack Wing, and I think if they had a dozen more people turn up, I really don't know whether to put them. So it was pushing it a bit for space, and I know that I think Dave, who's the manager there, had thought that his new store was you were going to get the keys earlier so they could use that, but they hadn't done. So yeah, it was I mean, they managed, and it was look. The prizes were good. I didn't know how I had a problem with the judge. I never really called the judge anyways because I think the people there, all the anybody that I played was basically we had a quick discussion about how a rule worked, and then we agreed how it worked. So we didn't need to get judges involved and stuff. But I enjoyed myself. I do think that we just went down for one day. I think the whole I'd enjoyed going down the nationals because you get to meet your mates who you don't see very often, and a lot of guys were there from the south coast didn't come, so we just decided to go down for the day rather than the whole weekend. So we didn't get the whole sort of expo experience and staying up late drinking, playing stupid board games all night, which probably benefited us in how we performed on the Sunday, but I felt that as a bit of a loss.
Having gone to nationals last year and that being my first one, this one had a different feel about it. It didn't feel like it had done the previous year, and I think there was an element of that. It wasn't an element of the socialising afterwards.
Yeah, there was.
It didn't feel as big as the year previous. That makes sense.
There was I suppose there was probably about a dozen less people. But
I'm not talking about numbers. I just I'm just talking about overall. It had a more low key feel about it than the year previous. But that's got a lot to do with the expo itself and being other events going on at the expo as well.
Yeah, but going on from that, they have said that if anybody listened hasn't already heard that they are going to be running an event at the expo. I think it's Stevie and I'm putting that on. So it's going to be judged by Phil from Bournemouth, I do believe.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing the constructed event on the Saturday with then sort of Battle Royale side events on the Sunday. So we're hoping to go down for that, are we not, on the Saturday?
I hope to,
for the day, yeah.
I'm hoping.
So, but obviously rotation occurs. So we're all busily trying to come up with new ways to beat Jakeem.
It's not long.
Yep.
And the answer we've come up with so far is there isn't one.
Well, there is. I just think the
really...
Quinjet and Krang have both... Well, Krang's not rotating, but Justin is. The Quinjet is gone. So there's two... as I said, with those three sort of archetypes were dominating that national. So then you're just basically leaving Jakeem to dominate by himself. Unless we can come up with something that has a good chance of beating him. Because
there's nothing in the same realms. There's nothing as easy and cookie cutter as I've played. Like that like our teams that were very much built to hard counter and one shot. Jakeem teams, that's just a thing of the past. You're gonna have to work for it.
You can still kill, as we said, you can still kill Jakeem with Nick plus tank equals dead Jakeem.
You just can't make him move 20 squares first, or that kind of thing.
It is harder to do.
It's a longer game, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's going to be tricky, I think, and we've got one Jakeem between the lot of us, so that makes it harder.
Yeah.
So other people, but there's ideas. I think you just have to, as I say, play the longer game. But you've got a lot of other things that are missing. I know we're going off topic here and talking about something else. But there's things like stat mods. Yeah. Stat mods are like not going to be around so much. So Jakeem can't then go, oh, I've got another perplex from like the box. I haven't got like the combat reflexes off the Ras Relic. So everybody's taking a hit, even Jakeem. It's just that
the willpower. I mean, he's
going to end up.
There's other ways of getting that.
He's going to have a supreme intelligence on to give him stealth and willpower permanently. Really,
probably.
More than likely, if you're going to play like a Jakeem Faust team, you'd do that, and then you'd end up going. Maybe it's got a couple more. Well, do you kind of put a couple more ideas? Maybe just a break theme and just put a tank on it or something. If you want to do that, if you want to keep theme, I don't know what you do with your extra 10 points. I think you've got left over.
Black Cat.
If you want to, there's not a 10-point mystic, is there? Not even Thug will let you do that.
13 points. 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 13 points.
Nope. Yeah. So back to our normal recording schedule after this and format. So it's less just about us.
No,
and
we just want to talk about us,
things.
don't we? We've milked it.
We just
Yeah,
want to
we
talk
talk
about
about
me.
Dale being a second. You'll have to mention that at least every episode about how you're the only person to win the UK Nationals twice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and change our description on Facebook to 2 chumps and a 2-time champ. That's what it's gonna be.
So next time, guys, I was doing a mini set review of Avengers Defenders. I'll have a bit of a chat about that set, because that should be out by the time we next record.
Well, it's out. It should be out on
the
what date? This is the
Sometime
Saturday
next
we
week.
are recording it. Yeah, so it should be out the Wednesday. Generally, the release days on the Wednesday, so we should have had that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the thing. Is there anything else for the night?
No, I've certainly got nothing more to add.
I have got nothing more to add, but just again, congratulations, Dale.
Yes, well done, well deserved.
Yeah, go me.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer person.
And
you add credit, and you add a lot of credibility to the podcast, of course.
You do, yeah.
Well, I've been a champion before just because I had a dud year.
It was just a blip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say first year of fatherhood, so I had other things to worry about.
You had other things going on.
That was it.
You'd never played since like the year you'd won it.
Nationals before, yeah. I think I'd played about 6 games in the year, and then went to Nationals. Like, well, this isn't gonna go well.
That's what fatherhood does for you.
It does. It's lovely. But anyway, so it's the bed and it is calling me. So
Yes.
I'm gonna say good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Yeah.
Good night. We've got a 3 run. He's the end of the 2. I've got nothing to say if you do that.
Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there then, guys. So just want to say thanks for listening, and until next time, bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.